Welcome back to Twin Humanities. I'm CJ.
Oh, right. My name's Paddy, and if I sound like I'm talking like I've been through a poison swamp today because I'm not feeling very well, so bear with me in this episode. With us today is from the lovely Midnight Resistance, the wonderful and talented Andi Hamilton. Hello, sir.
Hello, and if I sound like I've made it through poison swamp, it's because I'm coming out the back end of that illness, that one and same illness. So,
and I'm on the other side of that. I'm doing all right. So
this is the Blight cast.
Basically, yeah.
Right. So this is going to be partway therapy, I guess, to talk about all the soul stuff that just gets bottled up a little bit, but also to I don't know, delve into the start of gaming. I guess the aspects of gaming that you loved as a kid, and the things that perhaps, I don't know, preempted the click with souls.
Yeah, it's probably a good place to start, isn't it? So, I mean, obviously I played lots of games as a kid. It's the only way you can fucking end up like this. So stick that in your reports.
Which system are we talking about?
The first console I had at home, system I had at home was a Commodore 64. The first thing I played was a friend's NES, and we were kind of smitten with obviously Super Mario Brothers, but the game which really caught my eye was Ghouls and Ghosts and Castlevania. And those were the two that we played quite a bit of, and could never do level 1 on either of the games. So when I got my Commodore 64, I actually ended up picking up the ports of Ghouls and Ghosts and stuff, just because of this like weird, like even as like a 5-6-year-old nostalgia to it. Like, I played at my friend's house. I remember this.
I used to get a bit of that with coin ops as well. When I go to sort of Skeggy in the summer, I'd end up going through all the coin ops, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's coming out by Elite," and imagine releasing that, and I'd kind of just get this sort of excited preview for when something was coming out later on.
Yeah, that was the weird thing though back then. Is like when you went to the arcade and you saw like I don't know, like Ninja Turtles, the big 4-player one that everyone remembers and is still really cool. So that you saw that and looked at it and it was like, oh my god, it's like watching the cartoon, but it moves and you can control it. And then you go, oh brilliant, it's available on the Commodore 64, and you get it and it's a fucking joke. Like, you know, there was a time where like saying, oh, it's in the arcades meant something like graphically and like from a power point of view, but now it's just like, oh, it's the same, or it doesn't even exist now.
I think sometimes it could work the other way around as well. Like you pick up something that was maybe quite an obscure arcade machine on, say, the Commodore 64, and when you then found it in an arcade, you were like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. Like I did that with Slap Fight, which was an amazing shoot 'em up, where you started out with a small fighter, and the wings built up across the bottom of the screen with more and more weapons, which was double cool. And there was Konami had an Afterburner variant called Typhoon. I think it was called Ajax in the States, and that had it was like Afterburner, but you were going down through the clouds towards a ship, and then you blew up the ship, and it then turned into you landed the plane. You took off in a helicopter, and it went into a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. Oh, awesome game. Ocean released both of those as well. So yeah, that was fun to then find them. Yeah, I don't know if that was kind of part of them just signing big deals and then getting these as like little satellite things that they could put out. I don't know, but
probably. But I think the only stuff from like the early days that really sort of, you know, would have anything to do with me enjoying the Souls game is definitely sort of like early Castlevania. So yeah, eventually got a NES. Castlevania 2, the gibberish classic that it is. I mean, that game is basically a 2D Dark Souls. Like, I mean, that was the game that when I was playing through Dark Souls for the first time, the first time I went through it, the first time I kind of understood the game and you know, what I was supposed to be doing, there was a moment where I was like, it is just Castlevania 2. You know, you speak to these NPCs that give you these incredibly cryptic messages. That partly was because of the terrible translation in Castlevania 2. And again, you're sort of left to your own devices in Castlevania 2. From the starting town, you can go left and end up in a swamp where you basically can't deal with any of the enemies. They all do too much damage, they all take too many hits. The game doesn't tell you otherwise. That is the game's way of saying you probably shouldn't be here yet. Loads of secrets, bosses. It's basically just a 3D. Sorry guys, you've basically just based your podcast around a 3D version of Castlevania 2. So, but yeah, moving on from that, just I think the game that, because it's my favourite. It was my favourite game of all time until it was probably knocked off its fucking pedestal by Dark Souls. Is Super Metroid, and I think that's like. I remember when I first played Super Metroid. Towards the end of the game, the massive spoilers for Super Metroid, by the way.
I think we're probably all right on that front now.
Hang on, I've actually not played it, so steady on.
Alright. Well, you get to the end of the game and you're getting... You fight Mother Brain, who's basically indestructible at this point. Just kicks the hell out of you. And the Metroid from the introduction sequence shows up. Now, in the introduction to Super Metroid, there's like a brief flashback to the NES games, but all done in SNES graphics to get you up to speed. And the end of Metroid 2, after you've beat the last boss, she's in a room with a Metroid egg that hatches, and the first thing the Metroid sees is her, Samus. And it doesn't attack her, it just sort of follows her around. And through some contrived chain of events, I think it gets put into like scientific research and stolen at the start of the game. So Mother Brain is kicking the piss out of you at the end, and just as she's about to deliver the death blow, the Metroid flies out of nowhere and sort of takes her out, weakens her, sacrifices itself to put her into a weakened state, and then the big final boss fight takes place and you beat the shit out of her and win. But what I remember about that is, at the time, is the cutscene happens at the start where it goes, this is what happened at the end of Metroid 2. And then there's nothing. There's no exposition, there's no bits where it's going, hey, can you remember that bit at the start? And even when the Metroid flies in at the end, it doesn't go, hey, do you remember that this is the Metroid that thinks Samus is its mum? So this is why it's protecting it. It doesn't do that. And I remember even as a kid playing that game on holiday when I should have probably been out enjoying the sun, being like, wow, that was really cool, because I kind of worked out what they wanted me to think, It didn't just go, hey, this was the story. It was, it didn't assume you were an idiot. I didn't think that exactly at the time, but I was more just like, oh, it was really cool. Like, I figured out what it was trying to tell me. And that sort of storytelling is like definitely a big part of it, and something that's sort of stayed with me ever since. That kind of way that, there's loads of stuff in Metroid where, there's little NPC characters in the background that tell stories about the type of terrain you're in and what an animal would need to do to survive in that terrain and whatnot. And it's all again, there's no cutscene or bit where it goes, hey, this is why they're here. It's this kind of environmental storytelling that is a massive part of Dark Souls, and obviously the exploring and the unique bosses and the unique ways to deal with things and the sequence breaking and all that kind of stuff. So that was my favourite game of all time. Obviously Symphony of the Night was a close second for a while, just taking that formula and adding the RPG stuff to it, which again takes you into Souls further and deeper into Souls territory. And especially with the bosses in that game as well, which are even more unique and even more Dark Souls, to be honest, as well, because of the sort of gothic setting. But then what actually happened with Dark Souls itself, obviously I picked up Demon Souls, the American release of it. Treated myself for my birthday one year. Didn't really know.
When did you hear about it? Because I know
my
that
housemate had it.
Some people jumped on the Japanese release straight away, and then it was when the Atlas release was coming out, and all these sort of 10 out of 10s were flying out of nowhere, and the difficulty was there. There was this huge degree of hype, but you actually got in there with the US one as well. Yeah,
so my housemate bought the Japanese one. No idea why. I think he just sort of fancied it a bit, and I know that he still maintains that's the best of the bunch and caned it. I maybe watched a bit of it. Looked good, looked decent. Didn't really know anything about the depth or the systems. I just knew it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
So again, treated myself, bought the US version, and I didn't really understand. I mean, obviously, I know what I'm doing now, so I know I didn't understand what the game was asking of me.
Mm-hmm.
But I leveled up my weapon a few times. I beat the Tower Knight, and I think I got to around Flame Lurker before I was like, this is too fucking hard, I can't be arsed. And then other things came out, and it just sort of, fell by the wayside.
I mean, we spoke to Dan Marr a little while ago, and he was at Sony when From were trying to show off like an early version of Demon Souls,
yeah.
And they were trying to explain sort of difficulty they were going for, and especially the online systems and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that the first time I played it.
Well, he was saying that like people were just kind of looking at each other, going like, I don't get what you're trying to do. And you think of how individual that was, and how they followed through with that as well. That's really to be admired. That they I don't know, they were forthright in their designs and their intentions, and they still kept on going with that. And I think I read recently that Miyazaki actually came onto the project a little way in.
Yeah,
Demon Souls wasn't working out, and he had chance to forge it as he wanted it, I guess.
Yeah, I also heard recently that Yoshida apparently hated it.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
took one look at it and was like, "It's shit." But then that whole thing is like, I mean, we'll probably get onto this later when we start talking about fucking Bloodborne. But the whole like Miyazaki as creator coming on as sort of like the creative director or whatever it is his role was, and reshaping the game into what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know how good the game is. You shouldn't be listening to this podcast if you don't. That's why we're here. But like, this is why sort of post Bloodborne, I think that people should really be talking about him in the same breath as like Kojima and Miyamoto in terms of like creators. I mean, obviously, again, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sort of preaching to the choir a little bit, but the reality is he kind of isn't. Like, people know who Hideo Kojima is and who Shigeru Miyamoto is, but Miyazaki's name's not there yet. And
I think it's the first time in this instance, though, that he's kind of really been put up in lights in the way that he is. I mean, Dark Souls, when it came out, was kind of still preaching towards the Demon Souls choir on the PS3 side of things, and it was new territory on 360. Dark Souls 2 was really following on from Miyazaki, but this is the first time where, I don't know, his design credentials and his attention to detail has been highlighted as part of the publicity.
Yes,
and even though he seems sort of quite publicity shy, he still had the most amazing conversations with journalists, whether it be talking about fascinating with Dracula and with the term clammy, or even sort of back with Souls, where he said he loved European mythology but couldn't read English, so he was making up his own stories around the pictures and stuff. I find all of this fascinating, but they're projecting the image of an individual, which is great, and he's not trying to be someone that he isn't, which is great, and that really resonates in the publicity, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I sort of said we'll probably get into it when we talk about Bloodborne more, because Bloodborne's really the first game, as you said, that's kind of traded on the fact it's a Miyazaki game. But like that little story there about him coming into Demon Souls during the project and kind of kicking up the arse, I mean, that is completely reminiscent of the Metroid Prime situation, where Retro Studios were making it. It was apparently a third-person shooter for the N64. I think it might have been further in development than that. They might have started going to the first-person thing. I'm unaware of the timeline, but all I am aware of is apparently word is it had a bad showing at a trade show or E3 or something. Word was it was far from where Nintendo wanted it to be. They sent old Chigsy round to sit in with the project manager and stuff like that for a couple of for a month or so, and just sort of oversee it. And the next thing you've got Metroid Prime. So So apparently, like he went down there and was like, right, no, this is this is how you do these things, and sort of shaped the project into the Metroid Prime that we see today. And that's why it's kind of interesting when he's been doing interviews recently, saying, you know, when they ask him which is your favourite type of Metroid, and he's saying, I don't think we've seen everything we can do with the first-person one. But you know, but that's the thing. It's like I think that, you know, Miyazaki deserves to be mentioned in that, because he's done that. You know, he's taken a game which, let's be fucking fair here. Have you played any of the what they called the Kingsfield games?
I picked up Kingsfield 4 on PS2.
Yeah, they're not bad games.
But I think it's one of those. You know, when you go back to like certain Kingsfield games. Actually, it was the same when I picked up Armored Core 2. And like turning left and turning right is sort of L1 and R1. Yeah. And I don't know. We get used to the mindset where just, you know, the analog sticks would take you where you want to go. But they were very methodical. I was terrible at them, but it certainly had like an atmosphere and a majesty to it. And I've seen Dave Klein playing. Is it Shadowgate or Shadow Tower?
Shadow Tower, yeah.
And that looks amazing.
But you know, they're decent games, but they're a bit clunky. They lack almost all of the weird imaginative stuff that Miyazaki's brought to the table. And
here's a good example. Do you ever play Echo Night Beyond, which is the only
I have played Echo Night Beyond. It's fucking terrifying.
Right, like it's scary, but I haven't got a fucking clue what to do. Like, just ran around in a spaceship for 5 minutes. Like, okay, now I'm dead. Okay.
There's one thing that I noticed when I was watching some of the Shadow Tower playthrough recently. There's that feeling when you get a little way in, and this was definitely there in Demons as well, where a real sort of childlike centering of I'm lost. And as an adult, you know, it's all like, especially with gaming now, it's sort of save point, all this sort of stuff. But that feeling of, what am I going to do? And this sort of almost decision paralysis in the middle of it, and, you know, the knot in your stomach, that was definitely there at certain points. Even as watching it, I was thinking, like, are you going to go on, or are you going to sort of try and head back? And I think that's, I don't know, I know some people are put off by that with the Souls games, but it is something that I really love.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that, like, if without him being on that project, you know, take the alternative dimension route to the world where Demon Souls was released without him on it, I think you're just going to get a fucking pretty bog standard, solid 7 out of 10, sort of action RPG with, you know, that kind of slow methodical pace you get with the Kingsfield games. I think that's all they were gunning for with it. I think that, like, you know, all the interesting stuff really came out of that man's head, and he's continued to prove it with, you know, the next 2 games he was heavily involved in.
It is crazy though that it was his first project, and I know he said, like, at the point that he came on to Demon Souls, like, it was like there was nothing to lose because it wasn't working. But first project to have that is. It still blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at, like, most other people's sort of first projects, like what's Resident Evil 4 dude, Mikami. His first project was like Goof Troop on the SNES or something like that. Like, everyone's got a Goof Troop in their sort of, like, you know, back catalogue where they're like, yeah, you know, it was alright. I just, you know, it was my first project. And then, like, the next thing's Resident Evil 1 or whatever. But no, Miyazaki's like, Demon Souls, come at me, it's fine.
So if you kind of dipped a toe into Demon Souls, I guess, what led you to pick up Dark Souls?
Well, this is it. I wouldn't say I bounced off Demon Souls, but I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing. I was kind of, like, I mean, as I say, I sort of leveled up my sword a little bit. But that wasn't because I understood the leveling system at all. I was playing it like Skyrim. Which wasn't out, but you get the point. You know, I was playing it like every other RPG. I'm leveling up my strength, I'm leveling up my health, I'm leveling up my weapon. That's it. You know, I mean, obviously now we know how to sort of game the system a bit and get the best yields out of what your build is. But I didn't know about scaling or anything like that.
that was a little more obtuse, wasn't it, in the in Demons?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, it's a bad example, but like I didn't even look into it. I didn't look at any wikis or anything like that. I just played through, did a few bosses, kind of went, "This is really cool." Got to, I'm sure it was Flame Lurker. Got trashed by him and had to do that big run back through the cave.
Yeah, it is a mighty run.
Yeah, and I think that just
I
think that just knocked the wind out of me a little bit, and ended up just playing other things. So anyway, Dark Souls, I was meant to review it. So I got sent the review copy, the big circular disc thing with the lighter in. Okay. But I didn't actually have time to review it because I was moving house at the time, amongst other things. So I actually sent it onwards to another reviewer, who did give it a very good score, by the way. But that's still like a massive regret now because I don't have the fucking Dark Souls lighter that they had in the box. But I played it for a little bit while it was in my possession, and again, I think I got as far as the gargoyles. And again, didn't understand the multiplayer or how to level up or anything like that. And I think when there was 2 gargoyles trashing me with when I had a rudimentary understanding of the game, I was like, I can't get further into this because it's got to go somewhere. So again, I kind of sacked it off for a bit.
Did you have any sort of initial thoughts? I mean, this relates to Demons as well, but did you have any initial thoughts on kind of like the enemy or the world or the design, or even if kind of there were flickers of that love of the likes of Castlevania 2 that were sort of starting to show?
No, because I'll get onto that in a second. There was a reason which drew me into it. So I was barely speaking to people because I kind of rushed through it. The housemate I was in with had a copy of it, so when things had settled down, I went back to it, beat the gargoyles. I was using the Drake sword, because that's what you do when you first play.
Of course you do.
And someone's told you about it. But after I did the gargoyles, I got lost. I think I ended up going through Dark Route a bit, and I think it was the golems down by the old Hydra that just leathered me, and again I sort of bounced off the game because I didn't know where to go. I could have just looked up on the internet, but I didn't. Sort of bounced off it. Anyway, fast forward like a year, maybe even 2 years later. It must have been a year, otherwise the time frame just doesn't work out. Rich Stanton, the Dark Souls lore. The keeper of the law, if you will,
the Meister.
He wrote an article in, I've got the date here. Yeah, so that published in 2014. Surely not. Because it was republished in 2014. It was actually originally published in October 2012. Okay, fucking for a minute, then time just flashed in front of my eyes. I was like, really? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so in October 2012, so that maybe a year after it came out. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
Stanton released an article on Eurogamer called Becoming the Dark Soul, which is about him getting all the achievements and getting the Dark Soul achievement. And that's cool, it is of itself, that is a good read. But the thing that intrigued me about it, and this is actually the thing that drew me back to the game, is that he specifically got one of the achievements last. And it's the one that you get for getting maxed out the weapon from like Solare's thing, I think.
Is it Sunlight Blade?
The Sunlight Blade, yeah. I've forgotten its fucking name. I'm on the Dark Souls podcast. Yeah, maybe that. I'm just looking at it there. Prayer of a Maiden that's it. By acquiring all of the game's miracles. Okay, that's the final one. So obviously, the final bit of that, you've got to reach a certain amount of Sunbro rank to get the big bolt that Solaire has. That's right, isn't it? Come on, guys, help me out here.
I don't know. I don't think I got all that far with the miracle stuff. So I'll
no, me neither.
Take that as gold.
Oh right, okay. I'm pretty sure that the last miracle you get is from doing a bit of Sunbro. But the reason why he specifically saved that achievement for the end is because in his mind he had given Solaire and his story, which talk about in a second, a certain amount of additional weight. And Rich goes on to sort of give a rough explanation of Solaire's story and how all of it is kind of open to interpretation. And he basically he talks about this great tale of the lost son and the lost son SON of going through fucking Lordran and following the same route as you, and he might be the son of Gwyn, he might not be, and all this kind of jazz. And it was the way that he kind of explains his epic story, but then sort of says, yeah, but it's Dark Souls, so none of that might be true. It's all sort of speculation and hearsay and stuff, and piecing it together. And I was like, well, that's fucking interesting. So after reading that and reading a few of the other things he said in it, but specifically that moment, I was like, I kind of owe it to myself to see that, because that ticks a lot of those boxes I was talking about with like Metroid, and that kind of unseen storytelling. So I was like, I've got to go back to this. So, right, Wikipedia in hand. By this point, everyone had figured out everything. It's a year after it had come out. All the lore was figured out pretty much. Everyone knew how to play the fucking game, so there it was. So I looked at it. It took me a little while to figure out where I was, because I kind of got lost in the woods, which now I know I could have just gone down and survived if I wasn't being so rubbish at the game. But I was like, okay, right, so this is where I am. I'm supposed to go into Blighttown. And it even then was like, well, how would I have known to go into Blighttown? Obviously now I know to speak to the other guy and the bells and stuff like that. The Crestfallen Merchant Crestfallen Warrior just tells you.
It's also obvious now,
Yeah, exactly. It's also obvious now. But I read this and it was like, right, cool, let's do it. Went down there, and the rest is fucking history. I got stuck at what's the name boss down there? The Spider Woman with the fire.
Quelaag.
Oh yeah,
Quelaag. I got stuck at Quelaag for a while, but then just forced my way through, did it, and I was like, yes, right, I'm in. And to be honest, from that point onwards, I played it solidly for about 6 months.
Were you at that point sort of lost in the world, or kind of hunting out that lore, or was the resonance of Rich's article?
Not really. I was following it through, and I had an not because I didn't want to spoil like the actual going to the location, so I had a flowchart guide, which was like, you should probably go here next, and this is how to get here. You're on your own from that point. So I was following something like that, and because of following that, I am. And it actually, what I ended up doing as well, I fucked up halfway through. I ended up going when I got to the giant blacksmith for the first time. I found out about the boss weapons, and I was like, well, they've got to be good, haven't they? So I instantly just cashed one in and got the Chaos Blade.
Oh yeah.
But obviously,
anything as well.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, so I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. I go to fight the first enemy, and I'm doing no damage. And I'm like, oh no! And it was then I kind of realised, oh, it's not leveled up. Whereas the sword I just used was. So that was a bit of a shock to the system, and I had to go grind to get that up to standard. But then I found out about the whole humanity thing and the whole dex thing with that. So I'd just been putting points into anything to survive at this point. Like whatever.
I think you kind of follow RPG rules that you've just learned for years.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was doing. Yeah, just anything to survive. But I found out about the dex thing, and I found out about the humanity scaling thing with the Chaos Blade. So I ended up just doing a bit of helping people out, getting a bunch of souls, and just stick it. From that point onwards in the game, I didn't put a single. So yeah, from getting to the giant blacksmith. So before Ornstein and Smo. Before them onwards, so from halfway through Anor Londo onwards, I didn't put a single point into health anymore from that point. That was the moment where I did some reading, risked a few spoilers, and kind of figured out like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing with this game? And I found out everything about the weapons and stuff, and I was like, right. So I grinded, got it up to a respectable level, and then I started when I didn't have time to play Dark Souls properly, but had a bit of time to stick on the console while TV was on or something like that, I would just run the rats in depths over and over again, almost just chatting to someone else while I'm doing it. And I had like 99 humanity banked for most of the game from that point onwards.
I recall doing something similar with the leeches. Like, you know, that run of
The
leeches
amoebas,
before the
yeah.
bonfire. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I spent
get the
far too many hours of my life in that corridor.
Yeah, well, just round the corner is where I've spent about 20 of mine. So, yeah, just running the rats over and over again, getting humanity. And for the rest of the game, I had 10 humanity on me and was just cutting through it. But because I was doing this, again, following my little flowchart guide, it told me about the shortcut through the old backdoor to Lost Islip.
Ash Lake, is it?
No, the one where you give a load of souls to
Oh yeah, the Eggman.
yeah, the egg woman.
The
witch, Chaos Witch. You give a load of this is the worst terminology. The egg woman, the witch,
Terrifying Spider Barbie.
Yeah, her. So yeah, you chuck a load of one of the things you can do is you can chuck a load of humanity at her, and it opens up a shortcut to Lost Islip. And in my guide, it just told me to do that because it sort of said that like the start of Lost Islip's a pain in the balls, which is something I've still never done to this day.
Wow.
Never done the first bit of Lost Islip with the lava running or anything like that. So I did that, opened it up, went down there, killed all those little fucking things, and thought nothing more of it, which it turns out I was actually saving Solaire. So I get to the end of the game, which was a bit of an epic moment, because I nearly gave up at the Four Kings. Like that, when I did that, I roared when I did the Four Kings. I was stuck at them for about a month.
A Highlander moment.
Yeah. Went on the rest of the bosses I did first time, each and every one of them. Flew through the rest of the game after the Four Kings. Didn't even find it difficult, to be totally honest. And it was one evening, my missus was out, and I just did Nito. And I was like, well, this is it. And I was thinking, like, do I save this and go around and do some other things I had in mind first? I was like, no, just... You've got time to do this yourself with your headphones in this evening. No one's going to come in and distract you. Just get this done. Let's time to end this. And I went through and I did Gwyn first time.
Wow.
And because obviously I was human, because I had 10 humanity on me at all time for my Chaos Blade, I summoned Solaire. And did the,
way envious.
Yeah,
because that broke my heart when, you know, from seeing him so positive and so happy, he's like beacon of light as you go through the game. You know, even casting aside sort of the sun sort of cliches and stuff. To see him sitting down before Lost Islip, just so broken and so lost, destroyed me. And so I've always wanted to get to the point where I've got Solaire to fight with me alongside Gwen, but I've never done it.
Oh, it's so good. But here's the thing, I didn't need it at the time. I just thought, fucking hey, nice one. My man is here to fight alongside me. It was cool that it was Solaire, but that was about it. Oh, I also I saved Siegmeyer as well, because it told me, like, oh, there's a bit here where, you know, this NPC will come to rescue, but you can save him if you just snipe all the fucking dudes from above. So I saved Siegmeyer, and then later on found out that, you know, that's actually a terrible thing to do, because I just crush his own redemption, basically, by sort of helping, you know, making him feel useless.
In some ways, what I did was actually mercy.
Yeah, you killed Onion Bro.
Slightly killed him in Orlando by accident.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Not my finest.
No. Go through, beat Gwyn first time, fucking A, whatever. Finished Dark Souls. Hooray. I then went back and looked at the lore, and that was when things started to get real. So yeah, I looked up the Solaire lore and sort of tried to figure out how that all pieced together and what exactly Stanton was talking about. And, you know, sort of finding out that, like, I did what I consider now the true ending to Dark Souls. Like, I think that, like, my interpretation, because I linked the flames, my interpretation to the end of Dark Souls is actually a happy one. which also discounts the existence of Dark Souls 2 as well. So make of that what you might. But my canon ending to Dark Souls is Solaire is the sun, and he's quite literally the sun at the end of the game, and he becomes the fuel to link the flames, and because he did it, he's beckoning in a new age where he isn't going to just fuck off because this is his destiny and stuff.
So this actually ties into I mean we've we're on the same page with regards to how affecting the Artorias lore is, and the fact that you
that's my favourite.
You rescue his legacy. So in essence, what you're talking about with Solaire here is that you are kind of rescuing his legacy by taking the son SON that's fallen from grace from his father for whatever reason.
Yeah. And
you're replacing him. He's stepping up to the plate, but he's ushering in a brightening tomorrow.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I interpret it. But this is after extensively reading it, and obviously, once you've read something like that in a game, you're like, "Fucking hell, this is mind blowing." So then I just went nuts for it. Started watching a lot of ENB's videos, and I mean, like believe it or not, one of the big ones for me was finding out like why Tarkus's set is on the floor in the cathedral, and just being like, it was Tarkus's set being on the floor in the cathedral because he smashed the window and stacked it and fell to his death, supposedly. And finding out that who's the way of the white prick who goes rogue?
Petrus of Thoradon.
Oh,
Petrus.
what an arsehole.
That was ours.
Didn't find that out for ages afterwards.
No,
I don't know. We had that conversation.
I did it on another playthrough because I did a playthrough where I wanted to get the God's Wrath thing. You know, the big explosion bomb thing. Whoa, I'm gesturing, by the way, while I'm talking, and my Xbox just closed an app with my hands. Didn't know it could do that.
You just Wrath of God is your console. Well done, you.
That's fucking amazing.
I think when you start noticing some of that environmental storytelling, though, like, you know, we all instantly sort of hated Laurentius, but when you realise that what he's done to the Firekeeper, essentially, you just go and nick a Firekeeper soul from the cathedral for someone that's been laid out and has died. That's just fine. But when you start questioning that, and the penny drops that kind of in most playthroughs that the world is fucked, you're probably fucking it up even more, and that there are no right answers. That's really, games have kind of conditioned us to that everything's going to be all right in the end. And the fact that it wasn't, yet the game could be so beautiful and so affecting, these wonderful personal stories that you can either notice or don't.
Yeah. But really it was fine. You know, when you go behind Petra's and there's a couple of boxes there, and you open up the boxes and there's loads of relics to the assassin people from the Downwards place.
Yeah.
And I mean, any other game that is just stuff in a box. But it was knowing that, like, well, that's his private stash, and the fact that you find this stuff connected to this, you know, this order of assassins in there should be your clue to go. Fucking, he's part of them. So
the red orbs, all over the place.
Yeah, it was Tarkus and finding out that stuff, which was those were two, again, like, really big moments. That made me go, like, this game is something else, because it's a real world, and it's even things like the items you find in front of the undead dragon. They're not just items. Most of the humanity pickups that you find tell a story. Like, most of the, you know, it's the only items that are put around, you know, seemingly randomly, as in, like, they don't really tell a story, are things like the soul pickups, you know.
Yeah.
But any item pickup is there for a reason, and you know, I only found that out after I finished the game. But it was finding out stuff like that opened doors to more lore. Reading lore opened up more doors to, like, why that item's there and stuff like that. And it just snowballed. And there was a period of time as well where I got fucking super obsessed with the stuff in the painted world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where it was, I think that, like, the painted world stuff is kind of like the secret most important stuff in the game, that, like, you know, you go into that guy's, because again, I'm playing as the Chaos Blade as well, so it was part of it. You go into, like, the because my next time through I used the occult blade. I made an occult weapon. It was finding out about all the occult stuff and how that you find in that dude's secret stash. You find an occult club, and it turns out that occult stuff is the only thing that can kill the gods. So like this guy having an occult club is like, well, was he going to try something? Was he going to try and have a pop at the gods? And that's why they stuck all. And you only find occult stuff in the painted world, which is a world sealed away from everything, for like it's almost like we know that it's like that time where fucking Superman gives Batman a bit of kryptonite and goes, hang on to this in case I fucking go evil again, I
think there's a wonderful duality to the painted world, that it seems like the place where the gods have stuck all of the things that they don't want, and yet on the other side of it becomes the place where people hide the things that are going to overturn the gods. And that I love that to pieces.
Well,
especially
it sort of explains it sort of ties into the fact that you find the doll to get into the painted world in your cell, and it's like, well, who put that there? Who wanted you to be the one? Because it's not in there at the start of the game, which implies it's put there after you've started your quest, which implies that someone, maybe Velka, has watched you on your way and gone, this guy's gonna fucking kill the gods. Let's give him a hand.
Well, you've got agents of Velka within the painted world as well, haven't you?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's their sort of thing. Yeah, but that's the thing is, it's just, what game? It's so stuff like that. Obviously, as you can tell by this point, I was completely smitten. Wrote a lot about it extensively. Have published a lot of stuff written by others about it, and sort of, without sounding too big-headed, kind of carved out a sort of my own little name as a go-to person for Dark Souls, alongside yourselves and a few others, and that was kind of cool.
On that front, did you get a lot of people sort of saying, "Oh, I'll give this a go"? Because there was a lot of folks that I noticed that
when I got into it,
there were a lot of folks that thought that the game wasn't for them, but when the lore was coming out, the game was hitting a certain price where people were going, yeah, I'll give that a go, he's now coming out.
And it was like £3 or £4 as well during the playthrough I was doing. So yeah, when I started my playthrough, so maybe like a year after it came out, I was just on Twitter all the time, and we ended up creating a little WhatsApp group to help each other out and stuff, and like actually made real friends because of that game and stuff like that, yeah, like we created a support group for people who could just chat on WhatsApp whenever they got stuck, and like some of those people I'd sort of maybe spoke to them on Twitter once or twice, but now I talk to them about every day, Dark Souls, etc. But yeah, when I was playing it through, I just banged on about it all the time, and eventually people started saying, yeah, I'm playing it because you won't fucking shut up about how good it is. Yeah, that helped. And I mean, it sort of reached its zenith with when Dark Souls 2 came out. I got the call like, right, we want you to review it. So at this point I'd gone back to Demons and played through it for the first time, and because I knew what I was doing, I kind of appreciated it. And I don't really consider guide spoilers in those games the first time through. First time through for me, you get by those games by hook or by crook, because they are challenging and I'm not very good at them. So you get through them, whatever it takes, I will not hold it against you. Second time through, maybe lean back on the summons, challenge yourself, look for lore, find it yourself. But the first time through, if you read a walkthrough, so be it, because no good walkthrough will just go, this is why this is happening. It will just tell you, get here, fight this boss. It's up to you to do that. Like, the walkthrough's not going to beat the fucking, the Taurus demon for you. So I don't really mind too much in that. So I went back, played through Demon Souls. I did the thing where you go to, is it free wand first, pretty much.
Okay, yeah.
And you get the skeletons coming down, and you just learn to parry like a motherfucker.
Oh, that's 4-1, isn't it?
4-1. Yeah, you parry the skeletons like a motherfucker, do a little run, drop down onto that little ledge and you get the magic sword, the enchanted sword, +5 or whatever it is. You get that super early, and it basically just makes the first sort of half of Demon Souls basically just negligible. It's like a super cheat. It's really, really cheesy. It's like the Drakesword times 10, because everything actually stays weak to it. Like, there doesn't come a point where it's like, tough shit. Like, everything just remains, this sword just wrecks everything. So I did it that way. I'm not proud of it, but it was cool, because, again, part of these games to me isn't just the challenge. Part of me is kind of, wow, look at that thing. How I can't wait to see how that ties into the rest of this stuff, So, but back to my original point, Dark Souls 1, a year after it came out, extensive help network. All the lore was already written out there, and people had done great videos on it and stuff. Demon Souls, same, slightly lesser extent, just because Dark Souls seems to have got the stronger following, but it's all there if I want to see it. Dark Souls 2. So I had to go get a debug PS3, playing debug code of it about a month before it came out. No one was playing it. There was no one to ask for help.
I know those feels very, very hard, because I was in the same sort of situation. I had to borrow a 360 off a pal, because I've only got PS3s. It's like, oh great, a 360 copy's turned up. Do you have a spare 360, please? And I was exactly the same. Like, I can't ask anyone for help because no one's done it yet and told the internet.
Yeah.
What do I fucking do?
But here's the thing: is like, that was like, it's one of the reasons why I'm really high on Dark Souls 2, where a lot of people aren't, because Dark Souls 2 felt like I was fucking carving a path into the unknown. Like, I was Indiana Jones, and I was in the Temple of Doom, dodging the traps and finding stuff that people hadn't seen for thousands of years, that added a certain something to the Dark Souls 2 experience.
No, I can see that entirely, because I was with the first Dark Souls, like the first time I went through it, I ain't got a clue what I was doing. I played Demon Souls, but I didn't know the intricacies or any of the lore or any of that sort of stuff with Dark Souls. I must have spent, I got an early drop of the Black Knight Greatsword, and I was like level 10, and I need to be like 23 strength or something to wield it. So I grinded that opening area out so much, and then that sword took me through about 5 levels, and I didn't realise that. I thought they'd missed a bit of a trick with being human and not, and didn't realise that you couldn't see certain NPCs if you were hollowed, and made every single mistake in the book, mistake in inverted commas, in the book going through that playthrough. It's absolutely my best playthrough, because I just hunkered down. If something didn't work or wasn't working for like the way that I was playing, it was like, well, what can I use instead? And I think that's kind of come around with Bloodborne as well, that I want to be this little pocket of crappy solitary and then sort of find my way out. So yeah, I can see that with what you're saying with Souls 2, definitely.
But like, obviously, again, going in though, like when I found this weapon, I knew what scaling meant, so I was like, right, here we fucking go, time to start specialising. So I was specialising from the off in Dark Souls 2. So the only thing that really caused me problems is when the game actually was really hard, because I was, the enemies and stuff were negligible straight away, because I just knew how, I knew how to game the system from the off. So I looked at like some of the starting weapons, and I was like, right, well, this class starts with more of this stat, so I can just get in pretty quickly. So I played through most of Dark Souls 2 before release, and then had to give back the debug PS3 and had to start again on release, which kind of killed the momentum of the game a little bit for me. But I have like a real soft spot for Dark Souls. I think it gets a really bad rap because I think it's a great game, and not only that, I think it's like a Dark Souls the arcade game is how I describe it to people, because in Dark Souls 1, if you go, right, I want to make this specific build, it kind of takes a little bit more to get that build going sometimes. You know the game, but sometimes you do have to go, right, well, I'll have to do this boss and I'll have to do this, that and the other. Dark Souls 2, because it's a lot flatter, and you can teleport between the bonfires as well. If you decide, right, I want to do this with my build, or I want to start doing this multiplayer thing, or I want to tackle this boss first and try this, it's much more open to that. Because you can just cut about the map and teleport. And the way I always explain Dark Souls 2 to people is like, you know, all the really fun high-end stuff in Dark Souls. So we're not talking lore here, or like, you know, the cool bosses and what they look like and all that sort of stuff. Because frankly, it's that stuff isn't really there. It is, and the stuff about the king and queens I think's awesome. Like, that's really bleak Dark Souls style stuff, which I really like. But the general stuff about the world is, for the most part, it's like, it was Lordran at one point. Apparently, it might not be, but here we go. And it's just, it's not really fleshed out in the same way that Dark Souls 1 is, but, you know, Miyazaki wasn't on it. But back to the point, what I mean about Dark Souls 2 is, like, it gets you doing a lot of the high-end Dark Souls stuff a lot quicker. So, like, it gets you into doing the stuff like, hey, do you want to be leveling up your character in this way to go defend that fucking bell tower? Right, cool. Well, do this, teleport here, do this. And I think there is something to be said about that, especially when it's the team that, you know, they're not the A team, so to speak. You know, they're lacking their main guy. They've looked at his ideas and gone, right, well, all his stuff kind of works. Let's just make a game that kind of facilitates that stuff, rather than that builds on it. And I think that's the game you ended up with Dark Souls 2, but, like, that's all right. You know,
yeah, like putting like the invasion stuff, like, so you can get there in about a couple of hours if you know where you're going.
Yeah. And not only that, by the time you're there, you're ready to do it as well. Like in Dark Souls, you can get to the invasion stuff and just be like, right, I'm not prepared to do this. Whereas Dark Souls 2 kind of, like I say, it sort of facilitates that end game content a bit more, you know, and you can get there and do, like, you could play Dark Souls 2 just to do that stuff and then never finish it. You could just get in there and do it. I know you can do it with Dark Souls as well, but, like,
it's quite a bit harder.
It's a bit harder, yeah.
I mean, with the story, I must admit, the story I think is absolutely superb, and I kind of fell down a rabbit hole with the story, and a bit like what you were saying with the Rich Stanton article, and it came from one bit of feedback that we had from a listener, and they were saying about how personal the story of Lucatiel had become to them.
Right.
That she's in Drang Lake to find her brother, but is losing her mind and her memories.
Yeah, that stuff's really cool.
When you meet as you go along, she kind of your presence sort of steals her, and she remembers you. And the listener sort of mentioned that their stepdad, who's always been a hero to them, is suffering from Alzheimer's and no longer remembers the times they spent together when they were a child, and that this, you know, their stepdad was an absolute hero to them. And that then led me to realise that this is more than sort of the cliche of a curse. This is an affliction robbing people not just of their lives but of their memories, and of a king that will go to obscene lengths to try and save his people, of dividing the human soul, of looking into the undead dragons, of crossing the seas to try and get something to save his people. And at the point that you get to him, rather than even as frail but majestic as Gwyn was, when you meet Vendrick and he's this husk of a man dragging a sword.
And the one thing I love about that, and this is like this is one of those little attentions to details that I love in games, like the Metroid before, like the Solaire stuff. You know, like, you know, it blew my mind when apparently there's, you know, the broken statue with the kid with the sunlight blade and stuff. You know, it's. I think that, like, the fact that you literally don't have to kill Vendrick is a thing that is up there, because the game doesn't say you don't have. You can just walk away. Like, the game doesn't tell you that. It's almost like a judge on your own character and your own character's storyline. You know, if your character's like, no, this is how this has got to be, you know, and offs him.
And he smashes the shit out of you if you try and attack him as well, even in that state.
But what I love about it is, like, the game doesn't chastise you or say, well, that was the evil choice. Because at the same time, you do kind of know that, like, Vendrick is supposed to be linking the fucking fire. And he is like, that, you know, as much as he's tried to save his people and done this, that and the other, if he did just sacrifice himself, this probably wouldn't have happened. So there is like this like implied cowardice to it as well. Like, he fought the giants that came over the sea. He split the soul and tried to do this. Yeah, but he's the king. He's supposed to be in the fucking fire. Yeah. So I like that as well. That, like, there's.
It's almost like, if in Dark Souls there's a perceived destiny, and the cyclical nature of the world, whichever your choice, that it will come back around again to that choice again.
Yeah, and he's
a man trying to avoid his destiny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's this bravery within him that he's trying to do absolutely everything. I don't really think it's to kind of save him from doing it. I think he wants to save his people.
Oh yeah, totally.
And he can see his people falling away. I think it's a wonderful tragedy, and the fact that people brush that story off. I think a lot of it is that when people started Dark Souls 2, all the lore had been mined for them. And
That's
the fact that wasn't particularly obvious within the first run through of Dark Souls 2, I think that led people to push it to one side. And the part of the fun of the games is chipping away at that and finding that rabbit hole that just makes you go, oh my god, there's this.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's this. Love that stuff.
Well, it's like what I said. It's like the stuff around about Vendrick and his queen and stuff like that. As I said, that stuff is that's the meat of Dark Souls 2 for me. But I think my main issue is just like some of the locations just don't have that kind of some of the locations are literally just, this is a location where this happened. And here it is. Whereas there's nothing like an Anor Londo where you're like, oh my god, this is it. And again, because the game's not very vertical, like Dark Souls is, they go for distance and try and sort of sell you this. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work. Like myth that you're travelling across a land, but then have like loads of bizarre stuff like you go up an elevator to a lake of lava.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm walking out the elevator at the top and thinking, hang on,
what?
Was I looking? I had to go back down again to check.
Yeah.
Did you? Are you tempted to pick up Scholar of the First Sin?
Oh, absolutely. Because
on
this is the thing about Dark Souls 2 is like the gameplay I really like, and because it's not quite as clever with like a lot of the bosses and stuff like that as Dark Souls 1. I feel that it relies on a lot of gameplay tropes rather than like story tropes. Like none of the bosses have the kind of allure of like your Ornstein or anything like that, and the way that he fits in the story. It's just not that they're bad. It's just that no one has the kind of backstory as a character boss like he does, or the Gapy Dragon or some of the others. But from a totally gameplay point of view, Dark Souls 2's bosses, I think, are a little bit better because they ask a lot more of you in challenges. Like I remember, because again, I had no one to ask for help, no guides to look up. When I beat the Sentinels,
that's a fight and a half, man.
I didn't think. I mean, I remember when I first got to them, and I was like, "Well, better start writing the review because I ain't going to do this." Like, genuinely thought I wouldn't be able to do that till I could summon when the game came out.
It's one of those great fights that just fucking starts as well. Like, it's on now. Like, what? Who? Where? Who?
I remember when I did them the first time I got them down to 1. So when the first time I managed to get it down to 1-on-1, that was the time I did it. But that last time when it was just me and the one fucking Sentinel, and they're not that clever where they've got only the one of them, but they can still hit hard. It became like this duel where I was like, I'm waiting for my moment because I'm not going to fuck this up this time. And I think that, like the Sentinels, you tell me the lore about the Sentinels. But like, that doesn't matter because from a purely gameplay point of view, they're like way more fun than like a lot of the sort of early Dark Souls bosses. Like I said, the Gaping Dragon where you just stand at the side of it and knock the shit out of it. I enjoyed the fight, but like the Sentinels is like, that's testing you, that's asking something of you, that's going, right, you're used to fighting things one-on-one in this game, how are you going to deal with this? Because it's not like they're going to sit at the sidelines and wait for their moment. They are going to attack you. And I think that that is something that is forgotten about Dark Souls 2, is that like from a purely gameplay point of view, I think that there are areas of it where it actually does eclipse the first game. And some of it's in the bosses. Like they're not as cool, they're not as well designed in terms of how they look and stuff, but they are just like, this is kind of cool. And a lot of people sort of slagged it off as well for saying like, yeah, but it's cheap because it's just like, oh, it's this boss plus these things, and it's like, yeah, but from a gameplay point of view, figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I loved about it, because again, it was like, one of the cool things about Dark Souls 2 is because you have a little bit more flexibility from the off, but again, because you can teleport around and just do things a bit quicker once you've set that stuff up, you can basically go, right, I've built this build, this class that I've kind of figured out, and this is what, now I'm going to test it. I'm going to test it against this boss. I'm going to test it against the Sentinels. Let's see how it works. Is it useless against the Sentinels because it's too slow or something like that? And I think that's there's something to be said about that, and that I probably will pick it up again, but I'm not in a rush, because it's not a game you can play for fun. You know, it's Dark Souls is an investment, and Dark Souls 2, playing it again, I would have to get into it, and I think that I'm still convinced that Microsoft had a say in its release schedule. Absolutely convinced, because apparently it's done all right.
Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, one of the reasons that I picked it up on both fronts was I was curious to see what the knock-on effect of Bloodborne was, if the Xbox One version was going to be more heavily populated, if the PS3 fan base would be split in that regard.
Well, I think that's the case, isn't it? I think I'm just certain that Microsoft said, like, look, we're going to ride the fucking tails of Bloodborne in on this a bit, so we want it out the week after. Which wouldn't surprise me.
It's sailed that hype train, it really has.
Yeah, like, it has, but like, it just, in terms of anyone who's played it before, I think it's killed it a little bit.
I mean,
unless you guys, of course, because
I mean, with Scholar, the nice thing is that the level of design in the way that they've looked at retooling the levels is absolutely stunning.
I've heard about even the enemy placement is really slick.
Honestly, it just looks like everything's been wonderfully considered, that there's great surprises in there. I mean, having gone through the games previously, you know, there'll be details of like, what the fuck, or what are you doing there?
Yeah.
And I mean, the original lighting engine's back. It's most impressive early on, where there's a run in Forest of the Fallen Giants where there's a chunky new NPC that's there, and he just it's completely pitch black in this long run. You've got new enemies that aren't in the original game that are further on in this thing, and he just brings out this staff, lights up this whole area with blue magic, and runs on with you and starts chucking out soul spears, as well as like this beautiful blue hue amongst the black. And it was like, oh my god, you've actually brought that back. And likewise, I mean, I've not long since done Lost Bastille, which I now consider one of the great Souls levels. The new places are fabulous. It actually feels like a fortified castle.
Yeah, I like Lost Bastille. Lost Bastille.
There are aspects blocked off. There's a relentless pursuer, and you are being pursued now throughout the entire game. And one of the pursuers,
that was sort of meant to be
supposed to happen. Yeah.
One of the pursuers is impervious to melee.
Oh, right.
You can only kill him with magic. And
me
there was
that's also me fucked.
Well, I kind of ran out of the room because I was the same. But and there's this great moment where you just hear this like, and I was like, what is that? And you get to a certain point, and the gargoyles are fighting in the sky.
Oh, that's
seriously,
cool.
Fuck off! That's awesome. And they also have this wonderful transition between levels a little bit more, like the sort of captain of the boat that comes into the Pirate Cove is one of the bandaged guys from the Lost Bastille. So you can see that that's bringing people from the Pirate Cove to the prison. You've got there's further transitions between levels in like the Shaded Ruins, and you know how the channelers appeared in Dark Souls, where you can go, oh my god, they're there and they're there, and you start linking the levels. There's lots of that sort of situational storytelling that's around, and it helps. It helps smooth the edges between the areas. But honest to God, I've been really, really impressed with it. And it's one of the reasons why I've been kind of stolen away from Bloodborne a little bit.
Does it lend any credence to the sort of the Dark Souls 2 post-release debate that basically it was released unfinished, and Does it?
I mean,
because it sounds like that. Like Dark Souls 2. You know, I mean, there's a few like bits in that that recently translated the design works. There's a few things in that hint that like it had a bit of a troubled development.
I mean, I don't know in that regard if there was the lighting engine was too problematic, or if it was just too much for an entire game.
I heard about the lighting engine, and I sort of agree with this. And I think I agree with it. I think I might have fucking said the statement in the first place. I mean, obviously, just removing the lighting engine seemed like a bit of a quick fix late in development. And I think the reason why they did it is because, you know, the stuff about having to light the fucking fires as you go to light the things. The only way you can do that is you go to a bonfire, press Y, choose light your torch, and then you walk around with your torch lit, and then you can light them. And once you've lit them once, they stay lit forever, so you can see in that area. Not only does that sound painfully boring, from a pure Souls mechanical side of thing, that negates some builds.
See, this is exactly what I saw in an interview about, and I read this a while ago. I thought, well, come on, sure, like, because they said it was, you know, magic builds were like totally unimpeded; they could just carry on as they were. But like melee builds that based on shields were fucked.
Well, not only based on shields, but like one of my favourite builds in Dark Souls is the old go straight in, grab the Zweihander shield, grass shield on back, two-hander. That build, you know, you pick I can't remember what fucking class it is now. You pick one of the classes, which means that you only need to put 2 points into strength, and you can't wield the Zweihander with one hand because that's not enough. But it's just enough points to be able to dual wield it. Sorry, to wield it with both hands. And then you sort of start from there. And but it doesn't. If you tried that build in Dark Souls 2, if it's the same sort of setup, you can't just go, right, well, I'll just change my weapon because I need to use a fucking torch. So I think that, like, I mean, because obviously they've put the lighting engine back in, but they haven't sort of. You can still play it without having to light all the torches, from what I've seen, which is good. I think
there's a degree of balance to it. I mean, they don't over-egg the pudding, but there's certain areas where it will throw your playstyle off with the way that you have to adapt to it. I mean, I've translated my Bloodborne playstyle through to this run. So instead of, I mean, I'm normally the sort that'll just hide behind a fire door with a handle on it and wait for my moment to strike. But this time I've had rapier in the left hand, fire longsword in the right hand. Weapon degradation is a big thing now.
Yeah. Oh man, so it's like you're using a twig.
Yeah, so I've had backup of 2 hider swords, one in each hand, and I've just been running along like rapier, swipe, and generally doing that kind of playthrough. But when I got to somewhere like Sinner's Rise, which is now absolutely pitch black, if you don't hold a torch, part of my playstyle on that bit was to like take things out with arrows. And you can't really do it. So you've got to sort of have a torch in the left hand, and that then led to me going, you know, like a new level of fear to it, where it's like I am lost because of the things that you're making me do. And there's other changes to enemies and stuff, but I liked that because it threw me out of a playstyle for that short level. Yeah, that I was used to, and
that's the thing is I can see that working. Like, you know, just like, right, this area is dark, so deal with this area. But when they were saying like lighting the torches is like a theme of the game, it's going to be a big part of it. I think that like some point towards the end of development, they were like, this isn't working because you can't do this, that, and the other. And because it was so late in development, instead of going, right, well, we'll rework the lighting in all these areas apart from, you know, the Sinner's Rise, they just went, fuck it. We ain't got time. Just everything's light. I think.
Yeah, it does come a lot across as, I don't know, much more considered. And even with the weapon degradation, I had a run through Huntsman's Copse, and that was a point where my rapier was nearly gone. My fire longsword nearly gone. I'd changed into the the two Haida swords, and during the skeleton battle, about 3 hits from the end, one of the Haida swords broke, and on the last hit, the other one broke, and I was like, oh my god! It was another one of those like, screaming moments. But the upswing of that, I mean, it's something that a lot of folks are saying they'd like to see patched. And I kind of agree with that. But when I then got to the bell tower, I got a number of different sword options. I also got the pyromancy glove at that point with poison mist on it, and I got a Haida spear. So when I was facing off against enemies, I was constantly swapping between different weapons, and it led to more successful PvP than I've ever had. So that was a bit of a kick in itself, so I kind of dug that.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I've definitely got to pick it up at some point, just because I like the idea of the remix stuff, but yeah.
I would advise to not bring your Bloodborne playstyle back with you, because
I love doing that.
Here's the thing: is like my playstyle. We'll get onto Bloodborne in a second, but to be honest, the reason why I'm having quite a bit of success in Bloodborne is because my Dark Souls playstyle was Bloodborne anyway, for the most part. I'm super aggressive on Dark Souls. Shields are for the fucking weak, man. I just put the shield on my back for my most successful Dark Souls playthroughs, other than that first one, all the ones where I've sort of like bossed the game and gone and done the DLC and beat Artorias and stuff like that. I don't have a shield, it's on my back. Grass shield on the back.
Well, allow me to repost that, because so do I. Like, I got to a point where like my favourite build on Souls 2 was my dual fist like Cestus guy, because he was just super fun to run around in the bell tower naked.
You can fucking rank those Cestus up to like an ungodly level as well, where they're like,
they are amazing. A guy got me a pair of plus 10s. I was like, what? Oh, fucking yeah, boy! And I ran around the bell tower
We had an episode where we went into the bell tower and we were doing a pantu punchu thing where we were just in underpants and cestus, and we were getting people that were stripping out of clothes to fight us, which was really funny. But it was great to see those folks that were just turning up with a massive sword and were swinging it, and we were like dodge, punch, 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 and they were like, what?
And then they'd run away, and we're not even that good. Like, I think they're naked and don't really have a proper weapon. They must know something. Like, nope, literally.
That's a spot on.
But back to the point. Since I thought, I'm pretty good, and I actually got quite quickly on with Bloodborne, because I was a bit used to kind of just dashing and weaving. But I've since got far too used to dashing and weaving, because I ran into Bloodborne like, no shield, weapon each hand, piece of piss. Right, here we go, enemies, right, roll, attack, wait, no stamina, dead.
Yeah, that's true.
It takes a bit of getting used to, because you can't go whoop, 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 whoop for like a week. You can do maybe one roll, one attack, get out.
So let's jump into Bloodborne then.
Can I just quickly mention like my ridiculous Dark Souls 2 build? Because I love this. I love this one. This is my current Dark Souls 2 one. So I wonder how this is going to change up in the new game. This is one thing I'm quite interested in doing. Is so you start the game, right? Fucking straight through to hide. You can do the old Fallen Giants if you want. That's almost optional at this point.
I will say that Hyde is now the new skeleton graveyard.
Oh, right. I heard they made it harder. So yeah. Anyway,
welcome to die.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
You punt through there, speak to that lass on the top of the thing, get her to turn the thing round. Yeah. Straight through Huntsman's, Skeleton Lords, up through the old poison bit. Up the tower with the windmills on it. Fill me in names, guys. Come on, help me out here.
No, I'm with you.
Harvest Valley,
up there. Yeah, the two bosses in there are a piece of piss. So you beat the Jabba the Hutt and the poison woman. If you can turn off the poison, she's basically useless.
Only a piece of piss if you know about the poison thing.
Yeah, it's true. But the first time I beat her, first time I did it in the poison pool, like an absolute hero. Yes.
Oh my god, I didn't. I almost gave up there. Like fucking, I can't. I just can't.
Yep. I was the same, but I took about 1 million tries.
Me too. But I did it. By God, I did it. Straight up the lift to the weird lava in the sky, and jump across that ledge and grab yourself an Uchigatana, and then. Sorry, no, not Uchigatana. The stone you need to take to the guy in No Man's Wharf. That's it, the fire thing. So the guy will start upgrading your weapons. And then you can buy it. Once you've got that thing, you go back to see that guy in No Man's Wolf, and he'll sell you an Uchi Katana. And by then, you've also probably got the resources to just whack it straight up to like +5, +6. All the way up there, you're just sticking points into decks, using the scimitar in the meantime, because it's a dex weapon. Breaks really easily, but it'll get you through. And there you go. From that point onwards, you just stick a shield on your back, you two-hand the Uchi Katana, like fucking Mitsurugi. I'm stood up doing it now. Two-hand it, and you walk around the rest of the game like a samurai, just whoosh, one shot, one kill straight away. So good. That's my Dark Souls 2 build. You just go, you pile through the first half of the game and just grab that little. I can't remember what it is. It's like a stone or something.
Dull ember, I think.
Ember, yeah. You get the ember. Pile through, grab the ember, then go back to speak to that guy, buy an Uchi Katana, and just stick everything into it, and then go fucking buck wild with the Uchi Katana for the rest of the game.
I think you might get the dull ember a little bit earlier in this one, to be honest.
Oh shit!
Ooh.
Yeah, so interesting.
All right, so Bloodborne's out.
Brothers, yeah. So,
Brothers.
so were you one of those folks going into it after having sort of shut out all the publisher noise, or
Actually,
you taking in the hype as and when it appeared?
Because this goes back to my sort of 2 playthroughs. So Dark Souls I loved because of the community spirit. I love, part of the reason why Dark Souls is my favourite game of all time is because I made real friends. I talked about it on the internet. People talked to me about it. I looked up to people who helped me out, and people looked up to me. Now they still do when they talk to me about like certain things about Dark Souls and stuff, and that's great community that kind of comes from that game. I'm on the podcast. Like
this is the whole basis for our show. This is the reason.
Yeah, exactly. Happened, I listened to Bonfireside Chat before I listened to you guys, and I've been listening to Dark Calls, and that again, that's a fantastic journey through the whole.
The Legend of David Tennant is awesome.
Yeah, but what I mean? Like Dave, just chatting to Dave about Dark Souls in and of itself is an amazing thing. Just the fact that he went from legitimately hating the game to it being, I believe, his favourite game of all time.
Well, you've got that bookend between Chris Band's Dark Souls 2-parter and then what happened afterwards, and that joy pod in between where he just did this revelation came out and was like, oh, really?
Breakdown.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's why I love Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2, as I say, I played it in a bubble, completely stripped of any kind of help. And it's kind of the reason why I've got a soft spot for it, because I figured anything that I know about that game, for the most part, I figured out myself, and then...
It's yours, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas Bloodborne, I intentionally went in with the attitude of, this one, I'm just going to buy it alongside everyone else and have that kind of the feeling that the public have, because I missed it with Dark Souls, and I was reviewing Dark Souls 2, so I missed it. But I just want it to be part of the general, player base, so people are finding things when I'm finding them and talking about them at a similar time. And that's been really, really fucking cool, because I've managed to nail that, and I've managed to keep up with the pack as well. I don't know where you guys are. I haven't finished it. So if you guys have
finished it, I'm the only one of us that's finished it. I finished it about 4 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still not quite sure what happened.
Yeah, I swerved away from it for Dark Souls 2, and I'm only on the level with the machine gun guy.
Oh man, you have barely scratched the surface, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh boy, have you got some shit to see?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm dead excited about that. But
you've got plenty of insight to absorb. I'm absolutely loving it. I've hit points in the game now. I think the game is sending me mad. Which is
with the paranoia about stuff that you've missed, or
no. I mean, I don't really want to spoil this for you, but
thank you.
I found an item in a very important area, and it was an item that I suppose you could say belongs to a mother and a child. Okay.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And it sort of hints that there's more than one of these in the item description. And it also hints in the item description that maybe this item has something to do with kind of seeing more than meets the eye. And that is me properly paraphrasing and avoiding spoilers.
Appreciate that,
but obviously when you tie the game into the kind of, it's a bit it's sort of is basically Miyazaki does Lovecraft. He does is what the sort of storyline seems to be. It seems to be his rewriting of what's it called, Shadow over Innsmouth. So in about the last hour or so in my playthrough, I've done some more things, and I do the Dark Souls thing. After every boss, you check on your NPCs.
Oh, of course.
Things changed. So I checked on one of them, and let's just say they were in a situation that could involve them and a new child. And the only thing that went through my mind, Andi Hamilton, a real person, not a game character, went, I might fucking kill her because I want what she's got. And that was about the most dark thing ever. And here's the worst part, I did. And she had what I wanted. And the worst part about it is, because I've avoided a lot of the lore stuff, there is a chance that the thing that she drops, because it gives you some insight when you use it, and like like basically like humanity, you pop it, you get some humanity. You pop this, you get some insight. You get 3 insight.
You get big insight.
Yeah, you get 3 instead of 1. But here's the thing: there is a chance that if I do find all 3 of these items and pop them, I might just get 9 insight and nothing else. And the game, but I'm a murderer.
The only thing I can kind of obviously I'm quite early on in the game, but one thing that really threw me in the playthrough that I had was when in an early part of the game where I met a child at a window, and she mentioned that her father had gone out to the hunt.
Yes.
And I didn't realise she meant father with a capital F,
yeah.
but that her mum had gone out to look for her and she hadn't come back. And I eventually defeated Father Gascoigne and found the ruby red brooch and brought it back to the child. And games have conditioned you to, you've got a fetch quest, you bring something back. And when I went back to the child and it was like, do you want to give her the brooch? I was like, yeah. And she just said, my mummy's dead. Mummy. And she started crying. I put down my pad, my eyes welled up, I got a lump in my throat, and it affected me for a long time afterwards that I'd essentially robbed a little girl of hope.
Yeah, I actually
now barricaded behind like a door, and I was. It was another one of those wonderful anchors where you just go, oh my Miyazaki, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Completely missable as well. I've missed like the NPC you were talking about earlier, the one where you went back and something was different and you killed her. I have never met that person.
Yes, you have. She's the woman at the start of the game who talks to you.
Wait, what?
Ayafeska.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I've read about another character that
let's
I've
just
not
put it
met.
this way. Yeah, that other character, I'm keeping my eye on her as well because she's currently sat in the cathedral ward.
That's who I thought you meant.
And she seems to be making noises that she might be pregnant. So I'm keeping a fucking eye on her because if that thing shows up, I might have to kill that too. So yeah, basically, I mean, and the best thing is I don't even know if this is actually going to achieve anything in the story, and it's just turning me. And Bloodborne is turning me into a fucking virtual baby killer. But
it's turning you into a beast, which is kind of ironic.
But that's again. I would love it if doing this led to nothing. It just made me a beast. Because again, that is that beautiful thing. Like the whole Far Cry 2, I talk about it too much. But it does loads of stuff like that where it robs you of hope and it makes you desperate by making you repeat the same shit over and over again. People get pissed off about those checkpoints, but there's a reason for that. The game is grinding you down. The game wants you to start making mistakes and getting desperate because that's what your character's doing. It wants to try and make you feel that. And I think that Bloodborne might be trying some of that shit, which is something I don't think the Dark Souls games did, because their lore is kind of their own thing, whereas this one is, because it's talking about like beasthood and man's inhumanity to other man and stuff like that. I think that, like, maybe they can start exploring some of those things that games do. But a lot of
folks have said that this feels like a true horror.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I mean, for me, it kind of, even in these early stages, it feels like fairy tales were when they were written to scare kids.
That's fair. There's a few bits like that,
Disney-fied and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few bits which are literally like that. The main touch point is definitely that kind of eternal darkness, sort of cosmic horror thing. It's what it's that whole like the unseen horror. And as you gain more knowledge of the horror, and you become a scientist and start looking into these things, it sort of touches on that whole thing, like the whole Cthulhu mythos, which is like, if you actually figured out how to view Cthulhu, the elder god, the second you looked at him, you would lose your mind. You wouldn't be able to comprehend what you saw. It's knowledge your human brain can't comprehend. And the idea is, the second you look at him, you can't comprehend his form or what he is. Your brain just goes, nope, and you lose your mind and just become insane. And
that's what I like about the madman's knowledge items. It looks like a skull with a head will burst the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's the game is definitely riffing on a lot of those sort of Lovecraftian themes. Like this unseen horror that's actually always there. And the more knowledge you have, which is insight, obviously, the more you see, the more you know what's going on. But also, the more insight you have, the more knowledge, the more mad you go. Like there's and people don't fully understand the insight system yet, but it looks like it's leaning into sort of that sort of stuff. But
I finished the game with fucking tons, and I still have no idea what the hell it was doing.
Yeah,
all I used insight for was to buy fancy clothes.
Well, I've heard, and again, I'll keep this nice and vague to avoid spoilers, but if you have loads of it early in the game, so you can do this on New Game Plus, right, and you go to fight a certain boss quite early in the game, because insight is knowledge, it's knowing, she talks to you while you fight her.
Oh, crap. See, my guy's at the start of New Game Plus, so I'm going to have to go do that now.
I've heard that, she actually does dialogue while she fights, because your guy can understand. But that might be bollocks. So
wasn't the dialogue that was... I mean, I don't know if this, again, sort of comes back to the insight thing, but wasn't it somebody like Father Gascoigne that originally said Umbasa?
He says that when you die. He still says that when you die.
Which did, wasn't that's the point that they pulled the alpha when somebody
figured
found
that? Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But what do you make of the world? Was there been certain points that have appalled you, or certain points that have taken your breath away? And
there is actually this amazing thing where there's a shortcut back up from the forest, which you'll get into. Like, the forest is basically just the start of Resident Evil 4 dropped into a Souls game, almost wholesale.
Seriously, it's like I'm in Resi 4.
It's the same colour palette and everything, mate. It's exactly the same, but which is fine if you're going to borrow. If one of the best is going to borrow from one of the best, the result can only be good.
Well, a few people have mentioned Resi 4. I mean, Steve Burns was sort of big on that on a recent video game podcast, that there was certain resonance of Resi 4 that he absolutely adored in Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's definitely throughout the game, but there is a specific area when you go to this forest which is just Resident Evil 4, which is again totally fine. But there's a shortcut from that forest which takes you back up to the first lantern in the game. Pretty much, yeah.
I found that right near the end of my first playthrough. At the end.
Yeah, well, it takes you back up, and as you're climbing, it's a proper snake eater of a ladder. And when you're climbing it takes fucking ages. But as you realise that on the floor there's just bones and stuff, and as you climb up, there's just discarded bodies everywhere, everywhere. To the point where, even me, who, when I play a Souls game, I see a couple of bodies on the floor, I ain't blinking. But, there was enough that even I was like, fuck, there's quite a fucking few of these. And it takes you up behind an area where you're like, are those people dumping bodies? From the town? It looks like it's just a mass grave where they're dumping bodies that you've just shortcutted through. But then, I've been chatting to a few people about it today because we haven't figured it out yet, but, it's very close to a specific building. So it's well, hang on a minute, are these people responsible for this? Is it one of those just little hidden things that's well, why are these people doing that and stuff? But that's kind of the beauty of playing it now rather than playing it before it came out or well after it came out, is I'm having these chats with people who are going yeah, well, I've tried this and this happened, I've tried this and this happened, and I'll be totally honest, the only thing that's putting Bloodborne behind Dark Souls 1 in terms of my favourite of the lot right now is the lore. And
but that's eating away at you.
Exactly.
You can tell that.
That's something
you're trying to put the pieces together.
Yeah,
this is it as well. Is like the lore is an inevitability. I feel I do think that I mean, in the next 6 months, the player's guide's out next week.
Yeah.
That's going to help, but soon.
I mean, Rich Stanton's put together and it's a really good.
Yeah.
Like when you finished, go read that Rich Stanton piece about the lore. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, even he though was tweeting today that he's had to redact something that he's had to change something that he's seen in it. He's looked at it and he's gone back and played it and found some information that contradicts it. So he's like, I need to change that. But what I love about it is, in the next 6 months, the lore is going to be busted open. There's going to be great videos on there. Fucking Varty's going to put out some epic lore voice video that he's done. And only then will I know if it's a better game than Dark Souls.
Yeah, but there will still be a point where you'll be playing through it, you'll understand like a good chunk of the lore, then maybe there'll be something that you've not seen or something that you have a different take on.
Yeah.
And then you go like, oh. And that's the point where you start playing the game again, and it's that wonderful cycle. Because like with Souls, they were a great game to restart, and I get the feeling that that's the same with Bloodborne as well.
Yeah, well, this is it. Is it like the lore is going to come out? People are going to figure it out, and it's going to happen. And again, in 6 months, we'll know it all. Well, or we'll know the main parts of it anyway. And the only thing I think that's going to put it behind Dark Souls in the grand list of all things, because I actually prefer the gameplay, because again it's geared towards my style of Souls game. It's almost like Andy's playstyle, the game, and that's really why I haven't really struggled with it at all. I've actually found it pretty easy. I've hit a few brick walls at bosses, and I'm at an area I hit an area last night which is just a fucking nightmare, almost a literal nightmare.
I get it.
Yeah, like that's like been my first sticking point with normal enemies. But other than that, it's just been get to boss, and if I didn't do the boss first time, it maybe took me like 10 attempts, and then I beat it and moved on. And that's not because it's easy; it's just because the game is sort of based around the sort of style I've always wanted to play. And what
sort of style are you playing, and what have you got a favoured weapon?
Yeah, I'm using
any advice.
It's called
I guess,
Lloyd's Holy Blade, and it's fucking superb because it's a one-handed sort of sword, swashbuckling style for the most part. And I've got the old blunderbuss in the other hand, which I don't use much, but when I do, the blunderbuss, it's got a shorter range for the stun. But I think the stun time lasts longer.
Yeah, I think it does as well. I'm right up in it with the blunderbuss, and I get plenty of time.
Yeah, to do the thing.
Because I've been using the pistol, and I must admit, like
the pistol gives you more range and a bigger window, I believe, in which to do the move. So I've been told that the pistol's probably what you should start with if you're having trouble with the timing, because it's a bit more generous.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. The stun window, this time when they are stunned doesn't last as long because it's just a pistol.
Yeah, Blunder lets you get hit, fall down, get up, get in, and still get the riposte.
Yeah,
just
so. But the alternative weapon to Lloyd's Holy Blade is it's got a big fucking sheath on its back, and you lock your sword into the sheath, and then pull the whole thing over, and the sheath is basically a greatsword.
Cool.
Yeah, and that you can't use the gun with it because obviously you have to two-hand it. And
yeah, I think it's been the same with the Kirk hammer when I've been twatting big lads with that.
Well, that's my Dark Souls play class, just without a shield on the back. So I walk around with that, and I just club like, and it scales really well with both strength and skill. So I'm already, and I've got it like at +8, and it does like just under 400 damage or something like that. It's repulsive. So the game is kind of like it empowers my style of Souls play, so I'm kind of finding it cool. But yeah, the actual game itself, because it's like kind of my sort of style, I'm really enjoying the gameplay more so than any of the other Souls games. But I just right now, the only reason why I'm giving like Dark Souls the nod as a better game, despite it not being as much fun, is the lore. as interesting as it's sounding, and even when me and Paddy were talking in incredibly censored and unspoilerific terms there, you can hear that there's an enthusiasm to it.
Oh yeah.
There's no Artorias. You know what I mean? There's no Solaire. There could be. But right now, as we're recording this podcast, those great stories haven't been figured out yet. And being totally honest, I can't see where they're coming in.
Right. Well, to interject on that front, like, given that the original Dark Souls, like, so much was held back with that DLC.
True.
Which brought pretty pink bows over everything. I know you obsess over, like, the Legend of Artorias in the same way as I do. Do you think it's possible that Miyazaki and Sony could be holding back a pocket of DLC which suddenly might introduce those sort of characters that will pull all of that together, which will make you go, oh my god?
Being honest, no. I think Bloodborne is a darker story, so I don't think you're going to have, like, your hero's redemption or anything like that you get in it, just from a purely thematical point of view. I don't see many other characters that can fill the role. There's a few hunters that are kind of cool and have got interesting backstories that are coming out, but again, nothing quite at that level yet. And in terms of DLC, I think that the Chalice dungeons, that's your DLC. And by the way, I'm well up for that.
They're brilliant already, though.
Yeah, I'm quite up for, like, don't get me wrong, Miyazaki is a master at creating worlds, creating tone, creating themes that run through the games, creating characters, and every single item is placed in that world for a reason. But a randomly generated Dark Souls game turns out is really fun.
Infinite Dark Souls.
Yeah, it turns out that is actually a very fucking powerful thing to have. So I think that honestly the Bloodborne DLC will be more tile sets and bosses and stuff for the Chalice dungeons, and I'm alright with that, because I think that Bloodborne is lining itself up to be a nicely complete world. I don't think there's going to be much missing. I think when people bust the lore open, I think they're going to be able to see it all.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be one of the ones that I think we're still going to be trying to work out. I think in 6 months we're still going to be trying to discuss which interpretation is better, or like which ending is the better one. Because I still don't know. I still don't know which ending of Dark Souls 1 is the best one. I still think that the bad ending is the good ending.
Now,
Bloodborne definitely has a Dark Souls ass end.
Now, just to sort of put a bow on things, so we've done the past and all these games, and you know how I've been talking about how my playstyles have been dictated by the different sort of situations I've put myself in. So, Dark Souls 2, the bubble. Bloodborne, playing it with everyone else and having discussions like this right now where everyone's kind of umming and ahhing and trying to figure it out, and that's been just as much fun. And obviously Dark Souls with everything preset. As long as this podcast goes out after Monday, so I don't get sued, I'm actually playing a game right now that fits into that kind of thing so well. And I think that you two guys are going to fucking go crazy for it.
Go for it. This is Titan Souls. Yeah?
Titan Souls. It's out next week.
It's got the Souls word in it.
It does, and they do freely admit that it's a shit name. I interviewed the guys, and they were just like, "This it's a shit name."
It certainly lassos in though the audience.
It certainly does, and you know what? Even if they're saying it's a shit name, like, trust me, that's it. Well, basically, I don't know how much you know about the game, but it's a top-down game, like Legend of Zelda style. Dead basic. You roll if you press X, and you hold it down and you can run. And you've got one weapon, which is a bow and arrow, and you have one arrow, and that is it.
Oh, I didn't know you had one. I knew you had a bow and arrow. I didn't. Ooh.
You do not get any more arrows. You do not get any more weapons. You do not get any more abilities. You have one arrow.
Don't you have to kind of pick it up after you've jumped?
Yes,
as well?
but also if you hold down square, or X on the Xbox pad, if you hold down the button, sort of put your hand up like Luke Skywalker trying to get the fucking the old lightsaber back.
Yeah,
okay.
To get himself out at the start of Empire Strikes Back. You can do that, but it takes a minute, and when you're holding it down, you can't move, and it's sort of, you see it wobble and fly back across the screen at speed, and you can retrieve it that way as well. Okay, so that's your only ability basically, and So you've got this world, you go around and you find these big chambers, and in each one of these chambers is a sleeping giant, one of the titans, and waking them up. Most of them you wake up just by shooting them with an arrow once and then dealing with their wake-up attack, which can kill you straight away. Like some of them, you fire an arrow at it and it just goes boof and you die straight away. So second time, don't do that. Some of them you have to do like a few different things to wake them up. Like there's like a little puzzle you have to solve first, and that's kind of cool. But once they're awake, obviously they're giant titans. So anything they do to you, one hit kills. So you've got one arrow and one hit, 1 HP. If you get hit, you die. There's no grazing shots, anything, and there's no enemies in the game other than these, I think, 30 titans.
Okay.
If they hit you, you die. However, they all have a weak spot, and if you hit it once, they die. That's how you win the game.
So sort of, kind of, a bit like Hotline Miami in that sense.
Yes, kind of, but all of the bosses fall fully and well and truly into the Dark Souls camp. That all of them have obvious tells when you know what to look for. They have very specific attack patterns and moves and stuff like that, and you've got to wait for that moment, and you've got to attack. And much like Dark Souls as well, there's never a safe moment. Usually that moment where you're attacking, you're also under threat, but you can get away with it if if you do it right. If you get in there and get out, you're fine. This is like that, but it's based around the kill. That's all it is. And I've actually written this in my review, so I'm kind of giving it away on your podcast. But there's an interview
We'll save it till Monday.
with Miyazaki, where he says that he doesn't look at the health bar as how much remaining damage this person can take, because you'd see them limping and stuff as they lost health if that was the case, and they don't in his games. The health bar is the player's will to win and the will to survive, basically. And the lower it is, the more desperate that you're going to be to stay alive. And these bosses in this game, they come at you. Once you wake them up, they don't sit at the back of the screen and do fuck all. Like, you can die in seconds once they start moving. If that, you can die in like half a second once they start attacking you. It is basically, when you're on Dark Souls and the enemy's got like 1 hit to go or 2 hits to go, and you're looking at that health bar, but you've just taken a big hit and it's coming after you, and you've got to work out, can I get this Estus in now? Or do I have to roll first, risking the hit, then Estus? Or do I just go bollocks out and try and kill it? It is that, the game.
Has your play style adapted to that?
Well, not really, to be honest. I've had a run-in with the Bloodstarved Beast the first time I fought it, where I thought I was going to do it first time, had 1 hit left on it, and then died, and then proceeded to get worse and worse and worse with every try after that. But this game, it's basically that thrill of the Dark Souls boss distilled into 30 fights, and every single one of them is like radically different and have their own attack patterns and their own weird ways of dealing with it. And then it's all based around that one idea of the arrow as well, but they squeeze it for ideas, and I think they get everything good out of it. Like, without giving too much away, there was one boss I thought that was like a gigantic tribal mask, and no matter what I did, I was trying to hit it in the eyes and stuff like that, and this sort of thing, and everything I did, it just bounced straight off it. But I realised that behind the mask was kind of like a fleshy side, which is obviously that's the weak part. But the boss auto rotates to face you and fire fireballs at you no matter where you are in the room. But then I realised that after it's fired its third fireball, it pauses for like literally half a second and then starts following you around and firing fireballs again. So I fired my arrow into a corner of the room and baited it so it was facing me with the arrow in the corner room, and in that half second I pulled the arrow back towards me and it flies in, And the best part about the game is when you hit that kill shot, there's just a little symbol like that, and the game freezes. And the colours just go black and white, the sound stops, and the monster's just frozen. And then you have to hold down the square button, and it sort of, you feel it like rumble, and the arrow pops out as you hold down the retrieve.
Oh my god,
arrow
that sounds really cool.
That's cool.
It pops out like Shadow of the Colossus, like poof, and all.
Well, that was one of the bits of feedback that we had on the Twitter. Like somebody said, it looks a little bit more Shadow of the Colossus than Dark Souls.
It's Shadow of the Colossus meets Dark Souls meets that kind of Zelda boss battle thing where you figure it out. But it's very, very Souls. But yeah, you pick it up and you collect all its souls and you move on to the next one. And yeah, it's the reason why I sort of mention it is like, if that game comes out and you two buy it, one of the cool things I'm having at the minute with a couple of the other writers that are reviewing it is we're all on Twitter DMing each other like, have you fucking fought this one yet? What did you try? I'm really stuck and stuff like that. And like, there's a couple that I just can't even figure out for the life of me. There's this gigantic like fish thing that flies out of the water and fires electricity, and I can't even see a weak spot on it. But I think it's something to do with these crystals on the wall, because when it fires electricity, they all sort of light up. So I think you might have to like arrow the free crystals on the wall under pressure, and then maybe it opens a weak spot.
So how does addiction sort of fall alongside frustration with regards to figuring those out?
Well, this is it. It's like when you figure it out, you feel like a fucking genius, and the sense of reward is like so high. I mean, the only thing that I've seen people complaining about is there is only 30, and when you finish the game, it unlocks like score attack, time attack mode. And I think it is a game based around speed running. So if you don't get into that, it's 30 and done. But I think they're kind of worth it. But also, when you die, you go back to you don't just restart the boss. You go back to the last checkpoint, which is usually like a 10-second walk from the boss door again. I've not really had a problem with that though, because if I die 10 times trying to beat that boss, I'll just fucking go do another one and go exploring. And there's nothing to do in the world either when you explore it. It's quite nice, and the graphics are cool, and the music changes as you go between all the different areas, but there's no puzzles really in the area. There's maybe like one or two locational ones, like lighting a few fires by firing your arrow into them and stuff like that to unlock a door. But
so once you've done that, it's done.
Yeah, the meat of it's the boss fights. Yeah, and once you've done that stuff, it's done. But it is like playing a little 2D top-down game that riffs on the last seconds of every Dark Souls boss you've ever fought.
So which formats is it coming out?
I'm playing it on the PC, but it's also coming to PS4 and Vita.
Come
and
on!
I cannot emphasise how much of a perfect fit this game is going to be for the Vita.
Is this something you're reviewing for PC Gamer then?
Yeah, I think it is going for PC Gamer, actually.
Be up on Monday, you say?
Yes, I believe it's going to go up Monday. But yeah.
Marketing mode. When can you buy this game?
I think it's out next week. But I'm really rating it. Like it's not perfect by any measure, but those boss fights are like they riff on a thing that like is one of the best parts about that Dark Souls games. That time where you're stuck at that boss and he's just destroying you. But I can't emphasise this enough. Every time I've been stuck at a boss in this game and I've left it and I've gone back to do it, the time I've done it, it's been clinical, perfect. Like you go in there, you wait for your moment, and you fire that arrow. And it's in.
Has it been on your mind then afterwards in those,
and you're like,
sort of moments in the lane?
Yeah. Or like, and when you do it, it's just there's just been some great moments where I'm like, I wish I'd recorded that because that was fucking so good. That arrow shot, just straight in there, Death Star trench style. But yeah, it's well worth your time if you're into your
cool. Yeah, I'm up for that.
Into your Souls games, and like I say, name wise fits in thematically as well. But yeah, I can't stress how good that's going to be on the Vita. Like I'm fucked off. I'm reviewing it because I can't have this conversation with all my mates. Like, mate, have you tried this one yet? It's like, how do you do this?
Yeah, but you're going to become the Oracle again at this point. So
that's true. Yeah, I'm going to be Yoda.
Help me, I'm stuck. Which one? The first one.
Yeah, well, if you get stuck at the first one, you might want to reconsider yourself, because the first one's like a big jelly, and typical jellies, you fire an arrow into it, splits in two. But in one of the jellies is like a heart, So you keep splitting it in two until the heart is exposed, but obviously there's loads of jelly balls by that point because you've split it in half and half and half. But once the heart is exposed, one arrow into it.
Ooh. I get the feeling that, I mean, I know Paddy sort of obsessed quite heavily in Binding of Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
Getting kind of like a little bit of a vibe of that.
Little bit. Yeah. It doesn't have any of the roguelike stuff because they are set bosses. It's not randomised. And the other thing about it is like there's none of that roguelike stuff that when you permadeath or anything like you runs over, you just have another crack at it. But it's it's nothing like the Binding of Isaac, but I get what you mean. It's quite similar in like its sort of feel.
Boss battles and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the boss battles and whatnot. But it's just the fact that they're one hit kills means that, and so are you, means the whole game is fought on a knife edge, and they're all really well designed. That like the moment when their weak spot is obviously unleashed, like there's a split second to fire.
Yeah,
but
is it quick as well? Like, is it
really
speedy? Like are we talking really like crate box quick?
Not quite that level quick, but it's rapid. Like when you wake one of them up, they start moving like instantly and start firing. Like you can be killed in less than seconds in the room. And like I say, the moment when they are exposed at their weak point, you like when you fire that shot, they're always about to do something as well. Like there's one boss that it sort of protects its hearts with its fists. Basically, it's got a heart right in the centre. It protects it with its fists. And if you're on one side of the room, it'll try and hit you with its left hand, and if you're on the right side of the room, it'll try and hit you with its right hand. But it'll always have one hand up protecting its weak spot. But when you cross over from one side of the room to the other, you can kind of trick the AI into a split second as it's about to replace its hand onto its heart with the other one. There's a split second where it's got both hands off, and that's when one arrow up the middle, done. But while you're doing that, it's also, its hand is coming towards you, and it, once the hand is over you, it just there's no wobble, or before it drops, it just goes bang, crushes you, dead. So like when you're firing that shot, you are in peril. Like you've got like a split second to do it. It's awesome. Like I say, it's like that aiming? Moment. You move.
Is it
the
like analog stick, or does it auto target?
It's analog stick.
Oh fuck! Because that means I could miss.
You can miss, yes.
I did that in Hotline Miami every fucking day.
But this is it. It's like you can miss, but it does mean that when you hit, it's sweeter. It's just like, you do feel like fucking Robin Hood, like straight up the middle. Yes, there's been a couple that, like I say, I'm so gutted I'm not playing on the PS4 and can just record the footage, because I'm just like, the world needs to see that.
You fancy you might stream it, or a bit?
I'm not allowed to at the minute, but yeah, I probably will when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean when it comes to PS4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't it's such a good fit for the cross-platform play on the PS4, because you're going to be able to stream it on your PS4, and especially if you get into the speed running, which I think a lot of people will do. But then if you're out and about and you just fancy playing it, just knock your save. I think it's got cross-save, so you can stick it on your Vita. And
fucking love cross-save. It's the greatest invention.
It's the best thing in the world.
I can take Isaac to work with me. Brilliant.
Well, I was hoping that I'd be able to do the same with fucking TXK, but Atari got involved, and that's kind of shagged that now. But I could take Velocity 2X wherever I go.
So to tie things up a little bit, what do you think of the future for Souls, Bloodborne and From? Would you like to see more Miyazaki on Bloodborne 2, or see him hand that off to another team and try something else entirely?
Well, one thing needs to be sort of said first, that like they're AAA now, aren't they? From,
I think with Kadakawa behind them,
yeah,
the finance is certainly there, and for those folks that are maybe worried at a big corporation buying From, the first thing they did was put Miyazaki in charge.
I think they know what they're talking about. I think they do, and the relationship with Sony is obviously fantastic as well, because it's yielded 2 belters at this point. But I think that I think that From they're now AAA. Like I mean, I know obviously AAA is actually a pretty dirty word, because it includes things like Assassin's Creed and whatnot. But when you sit at E3 when you announce a game, and it's a big one. It's not just by some niche lads, and it looks cool. Like, I think that when that FromSoftware logo goes up on it now, I think now a few of those people who do just play FIFA, Assassin's Creed, and Call of Duty all day, every day, and that's all they pick up every year, I think that they now go, especially if they're a PS4 owner. Like, I think that this is Bloodborne is a game that has cemented them as like one of the top developers in the world. I mean, and even when you just like think of like the basics as well, like how good it looks, and you know it's an exclusive, and it works as well.
It's the PS4 game at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
This is one thing I think people miss with Bloodborne. Like we're used to seeing these big CGI set pieces at E3, and then a game turning up 2 years later, which may or may not look like the original game. The first thing we saw of Project Beast was last July, when it was a bit of footage that was then cribbed together into some GIFs, and then the point that we saw Bloodborne, it wasn't that far off being finished.
No,
and then we've got the complete game.
One of the things I loved about the whole Bloodborne thing as well was when it came out, there was a few people who were accusing it of having like a different lighting model, because the lighting is different when you're in Yharnam than it was in the alpha.
We've got loads of colours in there. Just
let's just say the reason why it's different colours, you ain't seen nothing yet, alright?
Ooh, dirty nice.
Yeah. You ain't seen shit, son.
Yeah, you have.
And when you think you've seen shit, you ain't seen shit.
Yeah, you ain't seen shit, and like almost quite literally, you haven't seen it. Like that's part of the thing.
Okay.
But yeah, there's so that I think that's really worth taking into consideration when you think about the future of the company. Is like they are a big gun now, and I think that like that also, as we said right at the start, it leads into Miyazaki himself as well. That like he is now a big gun. So if he does not do Bloodborne 2 next and actually starts working on something else, I think that like more people than ever will have eyes on it, and I think that's a good thing, because they've done all this and they haven't compromised yet, and I think that is an encouraging thing to have when you've got a game as successful as Bloodborne, and whatever they do next, like I say, they're going to have eyes on it, and at no point have they sort of yielded on their thing. Like Bloodborne is very much a Miyazaki game in every way, from like the way it treats the story and the lore, to the difficulty, to the sort of the way that that it treats the gamer. So whatever he turns his hand to next is going to have more eyes on it than possible. So what do I want to see next? Do you know what? Actually, at this point, I kind of fucking trust him with whatever he wants to do. I don't know enough about Bloodborne lore to know if I want a direct sequel or anything like that, but the man can spin a world. I mean, like, if I was being really, really horrible, because it would ruin everything, but it would just sort of like, I just think it'd be kind of awesome to see those people again, is I'd like to see something that continued on from your lads in Dark Souls, just to see them again. You know what I mean? Just to spend more time with those characters. But that wouldn't work. I do think we're going to see Dark Souls remastered.
Because I
think that's a no-brainer.
That Sony might lean into a HD remaster of Demon's Souls.
I think that is less likely, but I think that it will still happen. Yeah, I think that an HD remake of Dark Souls, I think, is going to be out before the end of the year. Like, definitely.
I think that one can kind of lead into the other quite nicely. I think, like, fan base wise.
Yeah, totally. I think that like it's a possibility. It just depends how much work it is. I think that like if they can get it done fairly easily, I think it's a shoe-in for a PSN release, because I think that it's one of those things that I think they can recoup their. If they think they can recoup their costs, they can do it. But I think that Dark Souls is more of a shoe-in to get like actually an HD remaster where they tart it up and fix the frame rate and fucking Blighttown and stuff. I think
that's what made it special.
I'm curious to see if they. I'm curious to see if they do something or have got something up their sleeve with Armored Core. Because that's the one that's kind of fallen beside the wayside. But I'm wondering if we might see something like that at E3.
As is the case with Midnight Resistance, we're well into our Armored Core. We've been championing Armored Core before the whole Dark Souls thing as well. So like we've got a lot to fucking answer for. But one of the things that I think that could be really interesting is like, because here's the other thing as well, is that if you look at like what sells in 2015, weird Victorian plague mask wearing, Eldritchian horror nightmares or massive fucking robots, like, not being funny, but like a well-marketed massive fucking robots game could do the business. So I would like to see maybe if they like if From can get the same kind of support that they've got from Bloodborne to put into an Armored Core game, I'd love to see what they could do with that. Because like, again, there's no denying that Bloodborne is a little bit like, it's a great starting point for anyone who wants to get into Souls games. I'm not saying it's easy or like it's been dumbed down in any way, shape or form, but it's certainly a good starting point. I think I'd like to see them try something like that with Armored Core, because they are very obtuse, and that's part of their charm. But I think that they do need a bit of a kick up the arse.
If they could have that sort of lead in that everybody else feels they could try it. And I mean, the online side of things has always been there with Armored Core, but if you can get like loads and loads of people playing as well, that'd just be magnificent.
I just think that like sticking to what Armored Core is currently like isn't going to do them any favours. I feel they can go back to it, but I think they need to sort of like reevaluate the next one. Like, the best example I can give is like Street Fighter 4, when that came out, the fighting game community was dead in the water. Like, no one was playing fighting games, and the fighting games that did come out, they'd stopped doing what's called location testing for a lot of them, which is when you stick it in an arcade and get the elite to play it. The best of the best play that game over and over again, and trust me, they know more about that game than the developers do, and they shape the balance, which is why that game is like knife edge balance. But that just wasn't a thing, and the fighting game scene was pretty much dead, which is why Street Fighter 4, if you look at it, visually it has all the characters from Street Fighter 2, and they look like the characters from Street Fighter 2, but in 3D. They all look like the old SNES characters. And that was because they were actually going to try and trade on the fucking nostalgia market for a bit. Obviously they've done a hell of a job in balancing that game out, it happens to be one of the best fucking games of all time. But that was actually their strategy going in. So they were going to have people go, I remember I played this when I had my SNES, let's have a couple of games of Street Fighter. That was what they were aiming for. And obviously loads of people bought it, the casuals bought it, but also the hardcore bought it. And not only did the hardcore buy it, but some of these casuals became hardcores and got into it and still play Street Fighter 4 to this day. And now the fighting game scene is healthier than it's ever been. It's the biggest it's ever been. There's a tournament later on this year where you can win $500,000. Sony have put that up.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, and that alone this year, 2015, has been one of the busiest years ever already for fighting games, because all these pros have come out of the fucking woodwork going, I can win $500,000 this year in one competition. So they're all entering to get like practice and stuff before this one at the end of the year. So it's absolutely fascinating. But now that the market is here, Street Fighter 4 is kind of regarded as a bit more of a simplistic game than what came before it in Street Fighter 3. And it is, but that's by design, because they knew that they were gonna try and attract this market of people who might not be the hardest of hardcore fighting game fans. However, as I said, the scene is healthier than it's ever been. You look at all the footage of Street Fighter 5 that's creeping out, that is a more advanced game. Because the market's there.
They've almost given them the taster.
Exactly, because they've now established the market. The market for a more advanced, deeper fighting game is there, and I feel that like From maybe need to do that with some of their other properties that aren't the Dark Souls games. I think that's what that's what my move would be with Armored Core, is kind of make a game that sort of, you can't lose the core, but then Street Fighter 4 never lost the core. That was why it was good, and but I'm not saying just make a really dumb Armored Core game. I'm just saying that like they might have to like change a few things up and
strip it back a bit.
Yeah, strip it back a bit, just so people can see why it's good, and then build a community around it in the same way that
I
like
think
Dark
that one's
Souls
right
and
for a
Bloodborne
reboot, really, isn't it, in that regard?
Yeah, I think Armored Core's the obvious answer there, but I think the reality is like I just want to see Miyazaki create another world. I mean, what's the dream is Miyazaki does Zelda, isn't it? That's
well, a lot of Zelda fans have fallen into Dark Souls wonderfully.
I think,
and I mean, a lot of folks are mentioning with Bloodborne, and I kind of got this impression when I was running along with the threaded cane, was like, I could see him do Castlevania.
Oh, it's the best Castlevania game ever made. Bloodborne is like the best Castlevania game since Symphony of the Night by a long way. And I like the Lords of Shadow games, but Bloodborne is a Castlevania game down to like absolutely. That's what it is. I would love to see him do Castlevania. Like, just even though Bloodborne, all you need to do is just, if they changed the name and called the guy Belmont, right? like that's enough to trick me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's just something about maybe, that music playing and some of those enemies done in his style, and that logo coming up, and that walk up the clock tower as you go towards the final boss and stuff like that. I just think that, like, in Miyazaki style, I think that's the thing I'd like to see more than anything in the world, is like just give him the name and let him figure out the rest.
Yeah, but I remember how much you lit up when Hyrule Warriors was announced on that Nintendo Direct, and you were like, oh my god, Zelda and Dynasty Warriors. If the From logo came up and then the Konami logo went up, I don't think you'd be catatonic within
I nearly had
minutes.
a fucking heart attack when the Konami logo went up, and then the fucking Kojima Studios went up for the first Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Kojima did fuck all on that project, but like, that's not the point.
He turned up for one day and went, "Yep, we're doing it."
Yeah, but absolutely. I'd love to see Miyazaki do a Castlevania game, just because that's exactly what Castlevania needs, and I want it in my life.
Oh my god, I know what I would want him to do. Oh my god, it fits within the system. I want him to do a Soul Reaver.
That would be very good as well.
Fuck! Oh my god,
that would be very good as well.
If we're throwing pennies into the wishing well in that regard, I would love to see From and Miyazaki do a reboot of the first game that I ever finished, and this will never happen. But I'd love to see him do Sacred Armor of Antiriad, which is on the Commodore 64, which is about.
That's not happening.
But it was about this world where humanity was wiped out, and the race that rose sort of thereafter were enslaved by aliens, and they found these blueprints that they thought were prophetic, and essentially it was one of the robot suits that ended up causing this nuclear war that started it all, and goes against this alien race to try and get to the top of this volcano and set it off. But it was awesome. But that would be my wish. Never happened, but my wish. Well, yeah, we'll tie it up there. Thank you very much for joining us, Andy. It's been awesome.
No worries. Like I say, I had to get it out of my system. I think I'm supposed to be recording a Midnight Resistance podcast soon, and the way that ours always goes is we have a certain amount of time to talk about certain games, and I knew the amount of allotted time that I would be given to talk about Bloodborne was not going to be enough. I could sense it because I've played other things, you know what I mean? But so I was just like, I need to get all this Souls chat off my chest.
No, we appreciate you joining us, but where can people find you hereafter?
Okay, if you want to find me, you can find me at Andi Hero, that's ANDIHERO on Twitter, and if you want to find my website, it's at Midnight Resist, named after the classic Commodore 64 shoot 'em up. We know one day fucking Data East are gonna come back and do a reboot, and we're gonna find ourselves in a legal shitstorm. But until then, that's where you can find us. And if you do want to check out anything that I've written about Dark Souls, it's all on the website somewhere. Cool. We haven't got a proper functioning search function, so just fucking go through it and find something that looks like Dark Souls.
Just read the whole website until you find it.
Yeah, that would be the best way to do it.
But yeah, thank you very much again, mate.
No worries.
And good night.
Bye.